of the attachment to the report. Now, this report followed our November euro $500 million debt transaction, and committee members requested further information on our debt funding strategy.
16.
So this paper gives PwC's view on Council's debt strategy and especially the role of the offshore markets, compares our strategy to other organisations in New Zealand with similar sized debt levels, gives their views on the merits of the recent euro issuance, and then talks about our approach to debt investor relations. I'll also point out that in the disclaimer to this paper it points to it being confidential, but I can stress that Pricewaterhouse are more than comfortable with this being in the public domain. So I'll take the report as read and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Do you want to add any?
No, just to apologise that I got between somebody in their lunch, because my mother always said to me, don't ever get between people in their lunch, so my apologies for that.
No worries. Questions from Councillor Cooper?
Not a question, but and thank you, you're helping my waistline. For me, I just feel that this sort of vindicates our approach, and I'm really comfortable, that a lot of people say, oh, why are you going overseas, etc., but we know that before this legislation happened that allowed that, it was getting really difficult to find funding, and Auckland Council being the scale that it is, there isn't enough money to borrow in New Zealand to be able to meet the needs. So I felt quite comforted by this report.
Would you like to second it, Councillor?
Yeah, I will, Madam Chair.
Right, thank you. Right, so I think the report stands on its own merits from Pricewaterhouse. Any further questions? Councillor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's not necessarily a question, but given the critical nature of this, it is often an add-on to our discussion, and we do, I think, exactly as Councillor Cooper says, it's a really, really good report, and I think particularly, if you have a look at page 124, it talks about that this is exactly, I think it was 124, I just marked it, but it says this is exactly what we need to be doing to shore up our financial security into the future.
Absolutely.
And I wonder if, in conjunction with one of our many, many, many workshops, we just have time to, we can never do this at our meetings, but to take time to actually unpack this debt strategy and the critical nature of our borrowings in overseas currencies and how this actually works. The report certainly goes a long way to explaining it, but I think it would be good to take time to ask some of those questions that might be a bit embarrassing to ask in public, because we don't want people necessarily to know what we don't know. So I would appreciate us working towards
Councillor
that.
Hulse, I'll make sure that happens. Thank you for bringing that to attention. Councillor Fletcher and then Councillor Darby.
Thank you for this excellent report, and it clearly covers the benefits. Are there any risks that are not identified in your report, or any disbenefits that we should be aware of?
I think the key message is that you're doing all you possibly can to create a sustainable funding strategy with the tools that are open to you. And there's always risks in financial markets, as we know, and I think you've gone a long way to mitigating those. There wouldn't be any addition to this that would leap out at me, notwithstanding that we're all at the mercy of varying changes in global markets. But no, I fundamentally feel that your track is very prudent, sustainable, and has been well earmarked right through since 2011. In fact, I think set the wheels in motion.
Thank you.
Councillor Darby.
Excuse me. Caught me right at that time.
I'm happy to go to
Yes,
Councillor
please.
Cashmore. And please have a drink. We'd love you to stay for lunch.
If Councillor Darby falls off his chair, we know things are not well. Good luck, Chris. Thank you for the report. It's actually very important that we actually fully understand the journey we've been on with debt, Madam Chair, and I'd really encourage you to support what Councillor Hulse recommended as far as a workshop, because we've gone from a 3-year debt profile down to an excess of 5, which is important. We have a hedging and derivative strategy to support any risks around interest rate movements, or that's a zero-sum game over a long period of time, but there are movements in between, and I think the words prudent and sustainable, although we are getting up at the top end of our where we can go, our income stream is rising slowly, and our capital bill is massive, and needs to be so. The challenges are very real. I think it's vitally important that councillors have a comprehensive understanding of the whole long-term strategy and also the journey that we've been on since 2010.
Thank you. We should actually be on questions, but that was a good comment anyway. Councillor Darby.
I've cleared the throat. Thank you, Councillor Cashmore. Look, I just wanted to take this opportunity to acknowledge the former Chief Financial Officer, actually, and the finance team. We probably didn't give her a vote of thanks at that time because it was leading up to Christmas, but I think, you know, what you're seeing here is confirmation of all the work that the finance team had been putting in place, really good analysis. Here we're seeing it confirmed by an external agency, PwC, and that we were on the right track. And there was a bit of discussion as to why Auckland Council should be going offshore seeking debt funding. And then the debt markets of just within New Zealand, really, just as they can't sustain the government's demand, they really can't sustain Auckland Council's demand. And we see outlined here clear arguments as to why that was a necessary direction that was taken, and taken very successfully, I would have to add. And I just want to say now, you know, thank you to the Chief Financial Officer, former,